All right, guys, we're back with another one. Controversial ENT in the building. Let's go. Okay, guys, I'm going to talk about this one. Now, let me, disclaimer. If you are a Billy Joe Saunders fan, you're going to be upset with this video. All right? So I'm just putting the disclaimer out there now. You might be upset with this video if you're a Billy Joe Saunders fan. So if you don't want to get upset, then don't be so sensitive. Now, I don't hate Billy Joe under no circumstance. I think he's good for boxing, but I'm going to keep it real on this channel and give you some info. What are we talking about? We're talking about Saul Canelo Alvarez against Billy Joe Saunders. All right? The good, the bad, the Billy Joe. I should title this video like that, right? So let's talk it then. Listen, I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I'm going to be honest with you lot. I've been thinking about this for about, I say a day. I've been thinking about it. And I'm going to say it. Guys, I do not see how it is possible for Billy Joe Saunders to beat Canelo Alvarez, guys. I don't see how on earth it's possible. I don't see it. Now, that's not simply because Billy Joe, I don't think he's good enough. That's not necessarily the case. But there's factors involved why Billy Joe just can't win that fight. The first one, and the main one, do you know what? I'm not going to sum it down to one. I'm going to break it down in two or three things, right? But I will say this. First and foremost, understand, guys, that Saul Canelo Alvarez has reached ultra instinct in boxing. He has reached ultra instinct, all right? Upper echelons, you reach the highest form of battle, of combat, of style, right? Power level, all of that good stuff. I believe Canelo has reached his absolute maximum, right? I really do. I think Canelo's reached ultra instinct. And I'm not even taking into consideration Avni Yildirim, because as far as I'm concerned, a punching bag was paid to get beaten up. So I'm not taking that into consideration. I'm not giving Canelo any props for that fight because it was so much of a mismatch, it was a joke, right? I'm sorry, take it or leave it. It is what it is. But with that being said, I do believe Canelo's reached ultra instinct. Can Billy Joe Saunders beat Canelo with ultra instinct, guys? Well, here's the first thing that you lot have to keep in mind, yeah? There is no way in hell Billy Joe Saunders is going to get a points victory over Canelo Alvarez. Even if Billy Joe was to pull out a boxing clinic and beat Canelo pretty much all the... I mean, if he was to have the majority of the rounds in terms of he outboxes Canelo the majority of the rounds, even if Billy Joe did that, guys, he would not get the victory. That much we all understand. Because we know with Canelo, the judges are always on his side. And let me tell you why. I'm not mad at that. I am not mad at the fact that the judges are on Canelo's side. I'm not actually mad at that, unlike most of you lot. That doesn't bother me too much. Do you know why? Because I don't agree with decisions like what happened to Jamel Charlo against Tony Harrison. Number one, I don't agree with decisions like that. You cannot go into a fight against a champion, right, and edge him, literally edge him. When I say edge the champion, I mean it was such a close fight, but you slightly edged him as far as the viewers are concerned or whatever, or the judges or whatever, and then you got given the victory. For me, nah, sorry. That might win you fights if you're having a standard fight against a standard fighter, but when you're fighting a champion, I am one of those guys who do believe that you have to take the belt away from the champion. You have to rip the title away from the champion, right? You got to take it. If it's a close fight, in my opinion, if it's like a 50-50 fight, the judges must give the champion the benefit of the doubt. Why? Because the champion was not decisively beaten by this guy. It was too close. It's a toss-up. And if that's the case, the champion should get the benefit of the doubt, which is why I disagreed with this decision with Jamel Charlo and Tony Harrison won. As far as I was concerned, Jamel should have got that victory in the first place. But it is what it is. So Canelo having the judges on his side, I'm not so much mad at that. So long as it don't completely rob the other guy, I'm not so much mad at that, guys. But now let me ask you something. Is Billy Joe going to give Canelo the kind of fight whereby it's a 50-50 fight and that it's down to the judges? I don't see that either. Now, why do I say Billy Joe has no chance of beating Canelo? Number one, Canelo's got the judges on his side. Number two, you cannot beat Canelo Alvarez if you cannot hurt Canelo Alvarez. Billy Joe Saunders, can he hurt Canelo? I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think he can. I don't think he can. Canelo is sturdy. He's solidly built, right? I don't believe Billy Joe Saunders can hurt Canelo. I don't think he can land on Canelo and stagger Canelo and give him what they call, some people call it the skanky leg, some people call it spaghetti leg. He can't make Canelo do a Bambi dance. Billy Joe Saunders hasn't got that type of power, right? He can't do it. I don't see Billy Joe. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Do you see it? You tell me. So he, as far as I'm concerned, he can't hurt Canelo Alvarez. You cannot win by points. Then I have to question, how on earth are you going to win the fight against Canelo then, guys? Now, I will say this. Billy Joe has wanted the Canelo fight for a long time. There might be some who say, yeah, because he wants a big money fight. Some people believe that. I don't. I think he actually wants to fight Canelo because he wants to fully test himself. That's what I believe. Because Billy Joe's a fighter, right? Gypsy, traveler, blood in him. He's a fighter. He wants to test himself against Canelo. But this is what I honestly believe, guys. And this might be a bit controversial, but it is what it is, right? I believe that Billy Joe wants to get in there, test himself, and see how he performs. And I do believe that Billy Joe thinks he's got the style. I think he thinks he's got the style to beat Canelo. But I don't believe that deep down inside Billy Joe's heart, he thinks he's going to win that fight. That sounds crazy, don't it? I believe he thinks he's got the style to beat Canelo, but I'm not convinced that he believes he's going to actually beat Canelo. I think he thinks in his head that I've got the style to really test this man, and I'm going to give it all I can to win. That's a decent, positive attitude, but it's very different to, I'm going to go in there and beat this guy. He's not beating me. There's no way this guy is beating me. That's a totally different attitude, totally different mindset. I'm going to go in there and give it my best, and I know I've got the skill to be able to beat him. I'm going to go in there and give it my best. I've always wanted this fight. I'm chasing this fight. That sounds good, right? But it doesn't sound better than saying, I'm going to go in there and there's no way in hell that guy can beat me. There's no way in hell he's going to win the fight. Everyone knows I'm winning the fight. You see, there's two different attitudes there. Billy Joe is not the latter. He's the first one, right? So, can Billy Joe Saunders beat Saul Canelo Alvarez? What does Traversal ENT think? No, he can't. I don't see how Billy Joe wins. Now, granted, I will give Billy Joe this. There is a very small possibility, which I don't believe, by the way. I don't believe so, but there's a possibility. There's a possibility he could potentially outbox Canelo. But as I said, even if he does outbox Canelo, it's not going to be by a landslide, a wide margin, because Canelo is an elite fighter. It's hard to outbox by a landslide an elite fighter. So even if he did that, that just means the fight was somewhat close, but Billy Joe edged him out on the boxing side. Will the judges give it to Billy Joe? So then, truthfully speaking, the only way Billy Joe can win this fight in terms of the judges handing him over the victory is if literally he outboxes Canelo in every single round of this fight. Billy Joe would have to outbox Canelo and win 9 of the 12 rounds. Billy Joe would have to win 9 of the 12 rounds convincingly for him to get the nod, for him to get the victory on points. Or he'd have to stop Canelo. The likelihood of him getting 9 rounds, to me, is impossible. The likelihood of him knocking out Canelo, I don't see it happening in this galaxy. No offense, I just don't see it happening. Now let's flip it over. Can Canelo knock out Billy Joe Saunders? I'm telling you guys 100% yes he can. 100% yes he can. It's not a one-punch job. He's going to need more than one punches, but he can. Especially past round 6, 100%. Can Canelo outclass Billy Joe Saunders? Guys, it's going to shock some of you Billy Joe fans, but I'm telling you guys, yes he can. Not because Canelo's a better mover, but Canelo's a better counter puncher, and Canelo works the body very well. Canelo can, what do you call it? Believe it or not, although he's a shorter man, he can make his, how do I say this? Canelo can impose his short, stocky size on Billy Joe. I can see that. Canelo can fatigue Billy Joe because he can potentially keep Billy Joe moving all fight long, which will fatigue Billy Joe on his latter half of the fight. I can see that too. And lastly, and this is why I say Canelo can potentially outclass Billy Joe, it's mainly because of this. Canelo is intelligent. He has veteran moves that he can pull out to really hurt Billy Joe, right? That's what happens when you have ultra instincts. Now, Canelo's been in there with the best. TBE, Floyd Money Mayweather. He learned a lot in that fight. He's been in there with Erislandy Lara. He learned a lot in that fight. He's been there with guys, been there with Triple G. Listen, Canelo's solid, right? Now, before I end it, let's have a quick look at Billy Joe Saunders. I want to establish Billy Joe's best fight. Billy Joe's best fight, I want to establish it. Now, guys, credit to Billy Joe. He's got some decent names on his CV, but they're not world class. He's got decent names on his CV. He's got good level competition on his CV, but they're not world class. Martin Murray is not world class. He's a decent name, but he's not world class. David Lemieux is not world class. He's a decent name, but he's not world class. Now, Billy Joe won all these fights. I congratulate Billy Joe. I'm not taking anything away from him. And I think Billy Joe is an exceptional talent. But he hasn't got that defining fight for me. David Lemieux, he's not world class. He's a good fight. He's a good challenge, but he ain't world class. Willie Monroe, good challenge, but he's not world class. Andy Lee, good challenge, but he's not world class. Andy Lee's very limited, actually. He's got a strong punch, but he's not world class. Chris Eubank Jr., strong talent, good talent, solid guy, but Chris Eubank Jr. has not proven himself as a world class fighter yet. Gary O'Sullivan, same thing. John Ryder. So all these names I'm giving you, these are good names, great names, but they're not world class. Whereas Canelo, he's got plenty of world class fighters on his CV. I'll name you just a few. Floyd. I don't care if they're over the hill or not. Just take the names. Floyd, Kovalev, Triple G, Erislandy Lara. Right? Austin Trout, fringe world class, right? Miguel Cotto, the list goes on. Caliber, it's called Caliber, right? If Billy Joe had been in there with world class caliber, that's a different story. But I think that the Canelo that Billy Joe would have been able to be, that Canelo's evolved now. He's reached ultra instinct now. It's going to be that much harder for Billy Joe Saunders to have a victory against a Canelo. I don't see how Billy Joe can win this fight. I cannot see it. If you can, comment down below. Let me know. All right, guys? Traversal ENT. Make sure you, subscribe absolutely. Like, comment. I'll be responding to all of them. Signing out, guys. Peace.